follow.
Same old dial, same old end of the work week drink. Bartender knows my name, but I don't mind. She kicks them up strong, serves me up right. And here I go again, I'm drinking one, I'm drinking two. I got my heartache medication, a strong dedication to getting over you, turning me loose on that hardwood jukebox, lost in neon time. My heartache medication, well, it suits me fine, and I'm drinking enough to take you off my mind. I got my heartache medication. Another girl, another dance to a country song, turning me on. Here's to a good time and halfway to feeling alright. And here I go again, I'm drinking one, I'm drinking two. I got my heartache medication, a strong dedication to getting over you, turning me loose on that hardwood jukebox, lost in neon time. My heartache medication, well, it suits me fine, and I'm drinking enough to take you off my mind. I got my heartache medication. Single drinking doubles, teardrops turning in the bubbles. Yeah, a little later on, I'll probably find me some trouble. And here I go again, I'm drinking one, I'm drinking two. I got my heartache medication, a strong dedication to getting over you, turning me loose on that hardwood jukebox, lost in neon time. My heartache medication, well, it suits me fine, and I'm drinking enough to take you off my mind. I got my heartache medication, heartache medication, taking me away.
And Nasty. Host Randy Chevrier and Sheldon Napastia guides you through great stories that spark great conversations. Two really big guys talking a big game. The boys are locked in and ready to go. Welcome to the ride.
Yeah, welcome to the ride, everybody. And what a week this has been, Chev. Calgary, we've got ourselves a new mayor. Our country has a team just about to go to the World Series. Lots of stuff going on this time of year. Last week of the CFL playoff. Where do you want to get this thing started off on this episode 97?
I think let's start there. We've been, we went through the 90s, right? And the 90s is where we get to see a lot of our fellow compatriots on the defensive line, right? Like, we talked about some great number 90 athletes, especially in the NFL. You won't see too many baseball players wearing 90s. You won't see too many hockey players wearing the early 90s, maybe a few. But we talked a lot about football players in the last little bit. But today, I think there's 197 that probably stands out above all else, and that's young Mr. Connor McDavid on this show. There's a few others out there. You got Jeremy Roenick and the Bosa brothers. But Sheldon, Connor McDavid, 97. We got Gretzky coming up, obviously, with number 99 in a couple of episodes. But is this guy is he everything he has been cracked up to be so far? And how do we define him as the player or the athlete he is, in where he is right now?
Yeah, No, I think you got to define him as a generational player. I mean, he's got all the physical attributes of the generational players that have come before him, like the Messiers, Gretzky's. He's like the Michael Jordans and LeBrons, and like he's right up there in talent level, in excitement level. He's a guy you knew he was going to be great when you drafted him, and he hasn't disappointed. But his whole thing, his entire legacy is going to be, can he get his team on his back and carry him to a cup? And that's the only thing that he's got yet to prove. And I mean, we talked about it a couple of weeks ago, signed for another 2-year extension. So we've got him for 3 years. He's showing the commitment, but that's going to be the big thing. I don't think there's anything more that he could have done on the ice other than won Game 7. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I know you're judged on championships. When you're that good, it becomes less about your talent and what you've done in the game as a champ. You think about Tom Brady. He was not a generational talent. He was not someone that anybody would have said, oh, this guy is it. But he is, without a doubt, the greatest of all time. And, and that's in football. You look at Wayne Gretzky, he came out with the same, obviously, hype that a guy like Connor McDavid did, but he won all the cups. And so when you say he's the greatest of all time, he backs it up. I believe Connor McDavid is a generational talent, but it really remains to be seen. And we've had this debate a couple of times when, we hit the Alex Ovechkin 88, when we hit the Sidney Crosby 87, sorry, Alex Ovechkin 8, but the Sidney Crosby 87. I just, we talked about it last week. I don't know if the Edmonton Oilers get back to where they were. Like, I don't think they get back, and it certainly doesn't look like that right now, early in the season.
And that's an interesting point, though, Chev, because there is, on some level, there is the being at the mercy of the organization you're in. Now, let's not forget, before Connor McDavid came along, there was a lot of first-round draft picks that came and went. A lot of teams that were kind of good and then fizzled. A lot of mismanagement. I guess I'm almost going against my own argument here that you need to be considered the greatest. You have to have a champion, at least a championship. But it's tougher. I think it's tougher now in a Canadian franchise than it ever has been. I mean, that's why we haven't seen it in 23 seasons.
Yep.
So I'll give him a little bit of slack on that one. I mean, but at some point, you know what? If he can't get it at Edmonton, I think a player like this is going to have to go out on the road, because there's a lot of organizations that can win. Can Edmonton do it? I don't know, Chev. I hope they can. That would be as great as stories we have with. What's that?
Trey, he asks me, why not? Why are they not going to go back? They're very average right now, Trey. They're not hot off a Stanley Cup loss in the summer, 2 years in a row, piss and vinegar, firing out the cannons. They lost the first game of the season to the Calgary Flames, who have one win, and that one win is over the Oilers. And then the rest of the way, they're 3-3 right now. And I tell you what, if they don't get better than average by, and they always say it's U.S. Thanksgiving, that is the giveaway, they ain't going to make it.
We're 6 games into an 82-game season here, Chev. Let's relax.
Right. I think, I know what Chevy's doing. I know what Chevy's doing. He was born
rage baiting Trey,
that won a bunch of Stanley Cups before he's ever born, that he's taking credit for. And I think he likes to stir the pot a little bit with he knows there's some Oiler fans out there.
Yeah, but you know what? Listen, yeah, I know it's early. Everyone says it's early, but I remember the great Peter Marr. The great Peter Marr used to say that by U.S. Thanksgiving, which is right around the corner, if you're not in playoff contention, you ain't going to make it. And I'm not going to shut up, Cozy.
But they're wrong every year.
Because the experts say it, and you know what? It's true for the Flames. It's true for the Flames when they don't make it every year. It's the same thing. Slow starts. They're not in contention by U.S. Thanksgiving, and then it's just a slow bleed from there on out. Now, the Oilers probably have more talent to turn it around, which they have. They went on that big slump a couple of years ago and then wind up in the Stanley Cup Finals. I just don't think they're the same team. And for that being said, it affects Connor McDavid's legacy, which is why he signed a 2-year extension when everyone else is signing 8-year deals. You look at Jack Eichel. You look at what's his name in Minnesota. These guys are signing long ass deals because they want to be tethered to the team they're with. And Connor McDavid says, you know what? This is the Titanic. I see the iceberg. I'm going to stick around.
Chevy, that's a bull stand. The Titanic. Chevy. It is week. Is game 6.
Hey, listen,
he just
I like watching
your
him.
deal.
I'm not gonna.
I think the Titanic, and he would have been the first rat off of the ship. I think you got to give this one a chance. I think you're projecting some Oiler hate out there. That's
you know what? I was on the Oiler bandwagon in the summer. Like, I got no problems like looking at it from an unbiased perspective. I was all in the last 2 years. I had the Oiler jersey. I had my nieces in Montreal. We were cheering. I just don't see
unbiased after game 6. You got to at least give him till game 8, Chevy. You got
to
at least give him till game 8.
We'll see where they're at next week. You know what? We'll be on Oilers watch. All I'm saying is the team he's on affects his legacy. And as great as he's been, and listen, I will say, I don't care like what you say, but Sidney Crosby won more cups with less talent. And I'm not talking about himself. I'm talking about the talent around him. The talent around him.
I would think now you're going to have to talk to a hockey guy about that.
He had Marc-Andre Fleury. When Marc-Andre Fleury was an inconsistent goaltender that guys were iffy about. And all of a sudden now, because he's got the cups, because he had a long career to build on his legacy, he's a Hall of Famer. But early on in his career with Pittsburgh, threatened with replacement every year. I would go to bat and say that Draisaitl is better than Malkin, even though I love Malkin.
You just brought up Marc-Andre Fleury without talking about Oilers goaltenders. I mean, it would kill for a hot goalie in the playoffs.
Yes, of course they would, but that's what I'm saying. The Oilers got the Stanley Cup playoffs on the shoulders of their backup goalie 2 years in a row. You can't reproduce that every year. And I don't think that they've got what it takes to help him cement his legacy as the greatest of all time. That's all I'm saying. I love the player. I love watching him. The Oilers are exciting when they're good, but I just don't see it. But so for me, generational talent, yes, I love watching that guy. Like, he's the guy when he's on TV, I'm stopping because he always does. It's like watching football on Sunday. When you watch NFL Red Zone, you're always guaranteed within like 30 seconds of turning it on to see something fantastic happens. That's why like you freeze in front of the television because NFL Red Zone's on. It's always in the scoring zone. Well, Connor McDavid, when he's on the ice, it's like a constant feed of Red Zone. He has the potential to go from nothing to making the most spectacular play you've ever seen in your life if you blink. And I love that about him. But it hasn't brought the Oilers a Stanley Cup, and it hasn't cemented him on the Mount Rushmore of the greatest in hockey world yet. So
right now, he's not a Tom Brady at this point. He's a Dan Marino. And there's nothing that.
Yeah, he's a Dan Marino, a Jim Kelly. He's actually a Jim Kelly now.
He's a Jim Kelly.
He's a Jim Kelly.
He's more talented than a Jim Kelly was. But
his nephew's going to wind up in the CFL.
That's the thing you've ever said on this show.
What's that?
That's the most
Jim Kelly.
that was thing you've ever said on the show.
Did I say that was offensive? That he's the Jim
Kelly? No, I'm saying
it's ignorant.
You offended all Oilers fans, calling the greatest hockey player ever Jim Kelly.
I said right now he is. Hey, Peyton Manning was the guy that could never win the championship until he won the championship. For the longest time, Peyton Manning couldn't get it done. He couldn't beat the Patriots, and that was the knock on Peyton Manning. He couldn't get it done until he won it, and then he won it again. In fact, it was almost a running joke that his brother had more Super Bowls than him, and his brother had less talent than him. That was the joke in the NFL. Everyone's like, oh, man, Eli got it. How does Eli have a Super Bowl and Peyton has none? Until he won it. So until he wins it, that's what he is, man. He's a really great, amazing player. Hey, you know what?
Do you think if he finishes his career with no championships that he's like going to be like not one of the greats?
He's going to be Jim Kelly. He's going to be Jim Kelly. Jim Kelly was one of the greats. He went to 4 Super Bowls.
No, it'd be Dan Marino. Jim Kelly was not the talent that Dan Marino or didn't have the mind.
Okay, he'll be Dan Marino, except he'll have gone to the championship twice in a row and lost it at least.
He'll be selling isotoners somewhere out of the back of his SUV.
Well,
he's the greatest player of our generation for sure.
Yeah,
so, you
for
can't
sure.
take that away from him. I think Bruno might have an answer to this one here. Oilers should sign Alejandro Kirk as their playoff goalie. Nothing got by him. Maybe once or twice.
Cozy's on the hate Chevy train tonight. It's okay, Cozy. I got thick skin.
Dude, you are literally insulting every Oiler fan out here. Those are horrible takes.
Well, I don't think it's a horrible take. I don't think it's a horrible take. I mean, he hasn't won a cup. If he won a cup last year, I wouldn't have even been talking about this. I'd be like, wow, he's a great player, and he's got his first cup.
But he has Marcel Dion. There you go.
There you go. Well, listen, Sheldon, because Cozy's been waiting for me to stop trashing his Oilers, taking it so personally. Cozy, I can't wait to hear Sheldon talk about how the wrestling tournament went this weekend to put us in your good books. We might as well go with some 300-pound poetry to kick off the rest of the show, to talk about the rest of what we're going to talk about. Because, until we get a Stanley Cup for Connor McDavid, we're going to have to wait till the next 197th episode to talk about him being the GOAT. Maybe in 109, another 190 so episodes, he'll have his cup. Probably not.
Trey, hit it.
And now, 300-pound poetry with Chevy and Nasty.
It's your 300-pound ride, and it's about to get heavy. So sit back, relax, and pour yourself a bevy.
It took one big swing to produce a 3-run dinger, and the Jays are off to the World Series off the bat of Springer.
So can we all just agree that this is a Canadian dream? Can we get behind the Jays as Canada's team?
Maybe for some, but not necessary for all. There are still a lot of Canadians that are turned off, especially in Montreal.
But what's truly Canadian is our lovely 3-down tradition. It's the last week of the season, and teams still jostling for playoff position.
As we inch ourselves closer to that 100th show, it's the ride with Chevy and Nasty. Is our age starting to show?
Got a few more gray hairs than when we started this thing, Chevy. A few more gray hairs. Having to put up with comments like, dude, you're like the typical Easterner that comes here and brings all your Eastern Canada garbage, and you just poo-poo it all over us Western Canadians. You're firing some guys up. The Oilers, if you were an Oiler fan back in the 80s, that's just, those are fighting words that are coming out of your mouth tonight. But I think we are going to move on.
What we can agree on, if there's a Flames fan here, they're not even fighting they're not even fighting to defend themselves. They know they suck. In fact, tomorrow night, I'm going to the Saddle Dome to watch Les Montréal Canadiens come to town. They're coming down, and I guarantee you, there are going to be more Montreal Canadiens jerseys in the Saddle Dome tomorrow than there probably ever have, because they sucking right now. I'm not saying the Oilers suck right now. I'm just saying they're pretty average right now. The Flames suck. Yeah. Like, they suck. You hear the sports talk this morning, they got nothing to say. They just trash everything. Like, with that crappy sports guy sarcasm, like from guys that have never played the game. You know what I'm talking about? Like when they're trashing, they're trashing a professional organization of guys that are highly skilled, highly paid to do what they do, to go compete, and they trash them with this level of, you suck, coming from guys that probably never made a high school basketball team.
That's true. That's always kind of rich to hear that a critic that he knows the numbers but doesn't understand the game. The Flames are due. The Flames are due. The problem with the Flames has been they always go for those runs towards the end of the season, and they get up there within 1 or 2 games of playoffs. You're drafted in the middle every single year. I mean, at some point, you just got to take your lumps and just finish in that bottom quarter, 5th worst team in the league, accept it, and get a couple more draft picks. I mean, there's some good nucleus there, but if we can't grow, we cannot get better at this pace, picking in the middle to the end of the first round.
At some point, you just got to re-sign your head coach, then have the GM quit, and then fire that head coach, and just start all over and sell all your great players.
You calling for Conroy's job?
No, I think he's okay, but it's tough. They're in tough, and they're not doing too well. They're just praying that they could bang together a decent season before that stadium, that new Saddle Dome or Scotia Place is ready. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm going with my son tomorrow to watch Canadians. If,
Right on.
if anyone has an exciting team right now, it is the Montreal Canadiens. They've got some real hot young superstars. I got to say this. Suzuki, I think, is on a 10-game point streak or a 7-game point streak, and he's got more than 10 points in those 7 games. Cole Caulfield had 2 beautiful game winners in the last couple of weeks, and a lot of these guys signed long-term deals for less than market value because they want to be part of this nucleus going forward. I think their guys are signed to like 2030. Like they got a lot of guys locked up till 2030, big name players. So I'm excited that they're a fun team to watch, and it's going to be good. But Sheldon, we mentioned in the poem, we're inching close to episode 100. And, judging by the comments tonight, by the way, thanks guys for joining. You guys feel a certain closeness to us, which I appreciate, right? We got a little community we built over 97 episodes heading into 100, but we're heading to 100, and I don't know what it looks like on the other side of 100. Like, I'm excited to do a 100th episode. That's a big deal for us. That means we've been on the air for almost 2 years. If you don't, well, we're 2 years on the air if you don't count the episodes that we did before we started counting. But yeah, like, first of all, what do you think heading into episode 100 as far as where we've come from and what we're doing, and what do you think is next?
Well, you know what? I think what I would like to do to celebrate 100, because I'd like to keep it going. This, for me, Chev, this is still my Tuesday night phone call. And I like, what I've been feeling like the last few weeks, we're getting back to where the show started, which was just good conversation, good topic, and go. If we go beyond 100, what I like to do is I'd like to invest in that wall behind me. I want to start like doing it up a little bit fancier. You guys bear with us every night. I'm in my old office with 2005 paint. I want to splash it up a little bit. In fact, I even have a sponsor that I met up with over the weekend while giving a speech to a struggling young Pee Wee football team that I'm going to talk to about maybe getting some studio money from them. So yeah, I want to keep going, but I want to elevate. I just don't know what that's going to look like.
Yeah, I want to ask you guys that are listening, and we chose to talk about this in the first segment because, one, that's usually when most people are still awake listening live. So we wanted to get, what do you guys like about the show? What don't you like? I mean, I think Cozy's going to say he doesn't like Chevy's take on the Oilers, but that's fine. But like, what are some of the things that you enjoy? Is there things we could do better? Is there things you hate? Is I get it. It's late at night, right? Like, we've tried the recorded shows, but we've done that with very little consistency. And the only thing we seem to have been able to commit to is this Tuesday night, 10:30 time slot. And I think the proof is in the pudding that we got 100 episodes out of this Tuesday night time slot. I'd love to do more interviews, but I always find when we do interviews, it takes a little away from our energy, right? Like we have
totally
chat, but I love doing interviews. Like when we had Jed Roberts on, that was awesome. And that was a live interview. We had Daryl on talking about going to Portugal. That was awesome. Like, but even the recorded interviews have been good. But yeah, there's times, and I'm not gonna lie, guys, I'm like, this is like me and Sheldon haven't scripted this. There's times, like in the summer, I was like, man, I can't do this. I felt like it took a lot of energy each week to do this, to kind of get everything to the point where it's like, man, I got home from work, I got home from coaching. Now I got to write a poem. Now I got to figure out what the stats are and blah, 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 blah. And it got like, this can't be my job. And then the last little while, as you mentioned, Sheldon, it's felt less like a job. It's felt like, okay, I'm looking forward to Tuesday. I still got to try and bang off a poem. I still got to figure out what we're talking about. But yeah, I don't know. Like, so Cozy says we need live call-ins. Can we do that?
You see, I think we can. See, that to me would be fun because I love like chatting with the text, but I would love to get Cozy and let him in the room. We'd have to trust you guys an awful lot, though. I mean, there'd be like a test or something beforehand. It'd be a 1-strike rule, but that would be fun.
I think that would be fun. And I mean, I think that everyone's listening here. Like when we started the show and we talked with Daryl, who, by the way, we didn't mention, Performance Freight Management has been our sponsor since the first episode, I believe. And We Drone Real Estate Media and YYC Business. You guys have been with us forever. When we talked with Daryl, who's, I believe, not only one of our closest friends, he gets the executive producer title. He's in on our topics. He gets to throw things off. and the other executive producer, the I would say executive producer 1 and 1A is Daryl and Bruno. They both have input on the show. After that, it's the three of us, me, you, and Trey. But
you're missing there's some things coming up here too. Like Cruikshank is saying more CFL insights. Insights, I don't know how many CFL insights do we still have. I'm a fan like you, Matt. I kind of watch. I guess we got a bit of a different take than the guys, and it's fun when it's fun to follow. I'm just not going to become a stats guy.
Yeah, but I think what Matt's asking, Matt, you could write in the comments if I'm wrong, is like if we see something that maybe people are talking about that's kind of like we talked about Trey Ford, and when we broke down the Trey Ford deal, it played out exactly how we said it would when they signed him to that extension in the winter. And despite a guy like Trey, who, our producer Trey, we love Trey and we respect his sports knowledge, he thought that it worked a certain way, and we were able to break down, no, this is how it's going to work for him. He's a fast Canadian kid from a Canadian college. They believed in his speed, but that's all he has. And they're not going to take too much time to develop him. And it played out exactly like that. And the Edmonton Elks turned their season around when they went away from Trey Ford. They're never going back to him. And that was, I think, the type of insight we can offer. Things that people won't necessarily follow because they're drinking the Kool-Aid that everyone else is feeding them. They're like, oh, yeah, he's a Canadian quarterback. He's going to be great. No, he's not. Because he's not going to get the opportunity that Nathan Rourke does, because Nathan Rourke went to a U.S. college, had a little bit more success in a higher level of competition.
See, and even things like this, Matt, like, and Matt's saying that's exactly what he's talking about. Even more interaction like this, just live discussion of things on the show. But Jamin also wrote in, and this one I really like, more memes and funny stuff, then jump around on politics and sports, and I'll throw in some pop culture on there too. Not too much Taylor Swift, but we've been known to get down with Taylor before. You see, that's what I like. I like more unscripted, more random interactions with the audience, because honestly, that's why we do this. And then just good discussion, right?
And you probably want a longer commercial break so you can get back to your chair faster and have a pee.
I got a lot to do during the break, Chev.
So that would mean we need a few more sponsors. And even when we talk about sponsorships, we always said there's a couple of things that we can compromise if we want to get bigger. Like, we don't swear that much on our show. And we know all the podcasts, it's like part of the attraction is the more you swear, almost it adds color to the discussion. But I remember when I was getting to that point when I talked with Daryl, this is a show he wants to listen when he's actually driving in his car and his kids are next to him. And I kind of still remember that take. Like, yeah, we'll push it once in a while if there's purpose. But if we're dropping F-bombs, like I listen to a lot of podcasts, I get tired of that after a while. It's, the guys that are telling stories, the stories you can only get from those guys. But if those guys were just two regular bums talking sports and they were just dropping F-bombs all the time, I'd be like, nah. So there's a little bit about that I want to keep true to form. I love Bruno talking about the road trip. Like, yeah, I'd love to do a road trip. And we've talked about that. This is the thing, guys. The challenge about this show, again, Sheldon is a busy guy. He doesn't keep a regular working schedule. Like, sometimes there's days where Sheldon is working right up until 10:30 at night. And then we hit it and we go, I'm a single dad. And like, this is the real thing. I'm a single dad. Like, I'm struggling some days just to make it to my next thing I got to get to, whether it's coaching football, whether it's making dinner for the kids. And sometimes it's like, shit, I got to do a show tonight. Sometimes I forget it's Tuesday. And it's like, so to plan something bigger, as much as like last year we did the Grey Cup thing, man, it was awesome. But that took a lot of logistics. Again, we're going to thank Bruno and Daryl for pulling through. A lot of people took care of a lot of things that, I mean, that was hard to get done. We got it done, but it's like, whew, do we have energy to do that again? Like, one of the big things we want to be is that cool spot to talk about it, just like candidly, like I'm talking right now, like saying, man, dude, I love doing the show, but there's days where I feel like, I don't know if I'm going to make it to 101.
Let me jump on that one too. I was up until about 2 weeks ago, I was on a 3 or 4 week, I won't call it a spiral, but exactly what you're talking about. I was like, oh God, here goes again. I haven't researched it. I better start looking stuff up. Oh, I've got client requests. Like, even today, I just had a late night client request asking questions about RMS measurements. I should get back to her, and I'll get back to her in an hour. But there's some days where this is the last thing on my mind, and I dread it. Until the music plays and the headphones go on and the conversation starts. I mean, here's a nice thing.
And you guys show up. The guys show up.
Nice thing about having a microphone and a headset. You get into your own little world. And then I see Dine and Dash Dad. I see Ernie and Diane Regas, Todd Kozak,
Rubio, Bruno.
Rubio. Yeah, even Rubio copped it with Crookshank. I don't even know who you are, Crookshank, but thanks for jumping in here.
Yep.
And that kind of makes my nights. That's what gets me going. It puts me in a good mood, but it makes me tired the next day.
Yep.
I'll be honest with you. I'd love a 9 o'clock show, but you know what? People are busy. It's still at 9 o'clock. I think this is kind of, the guys that are up late settling down. This works for me for now, unless you're hinting that the show's going a different direction.
Well, I don't know if it's going. I don't know where it's going. I don't know if we're going to record it. I don't know if we're going to keep it. Like, I mean, I like what we're doing. Like I said, the last few weeks, it's felt a lot easier. I just felt like we could figure out. There's some things we want to talk about that you don't need too much background info on. But then there's other things that's like, you got to do a little bit of research if you want to look. Like, what, we're going to talk about the Jays next segment. How many times have we talked about baseball on this show? I don't know. Not I could count on 100 shows, probably 3 times. But Bruno is our baseball expert. Trey knows a little thing or two about baseball. I grew up watching baseball. I don't watch it anymore. We'll figure it out. And as long as we can have a take and have some fun and have some interaction with the fans, I think I'm in. But I'll let you know, like, it's, we talk about men's health. There's some times where it's like, man, do I have to reprioritize my life? Like, I got a girlfriend that lives in another town that I'm trying to balance. I do volunteer work for the Calgary Firefighters Burn Treatment Society. I coach football pretty much every night. I wake up at 5 a.m. to get to work the next day for a 10-hour day. And it's like, do I need to, like, I'm a guy that needs a vacation, and it's coming. In November, I'm going on vacation. But, there's days where I'm like, man, I just need to simplify my life. I can't even do my dishes half the time. Like, what did I tell you I was doing tonight? I came home from football. I wrote the poem. I sent the thumbnail for our thing. I made sure all that was done. And I was, guys, I'm cleaning for an hour. I cleaned.
I think that's a good thing for you, though, because now you knew you had until 10:30. So you're actually getting stuff down around that. Here's what I'm going to challenge you on, Chevy. Why didn't you clean the house last night?
Because last night I had a headache and I went to bed at 10 for once.
There you go. No, I love it. That's for real. I mean, these are the things that.
But I think
whether it's a show or whether it's a phone call, you got to keep in touch. But,
for sure. You know what? I like the suggestions. If we can try getting a call in. I mean, I love that we have the live comments. I love that we have the live comments, and I love that the next day.
I'd love for them to be able to throw in a meme to Trey and throw it up there. Surprise us with something. What do you guys want to talk about this week? That's what I would love, and then mix it in with the odd call or whatever.
Yeah, maybe we got to get I don't know if we got a live bat phone or email that Trey monitors through the show, because I don't think you could throw memes up in the comments here, can you? Like, I don't know, but
they could send it into the producer, and the producer could throw it up on the screen.
Yeah. So we figured that out. But yeah, I will say that I appreciate, just like Sheldon, once the music starts and a couple of things are in place, and we at least have a skeleton for what we're going to talk about, like we have tonight. I feel good about the show, and I really enjoy interacting with you. I love the fact that, I didn't expect that, Todd Kozak was going to be so tough on me tonight, because I had a real honest and I think truthful take on Connor McDavid's career thus far. But that being said, I appreciate it. Because sometimes, again, single dad, I don't got my kids this week. They're at mom's house. My girlfriend lives in Red Deer. It's pretty quiet around here if I'm not coaching football, sitting around the house. And I mean, if I'm not talking to you guys, I'm probably just talking to myself. And that's the truth. So I do appreciate that I have this conversation with you each week, Sheldon and Trey, and all you guys that are kind of not a conversation, but you're at least in the comments. So yeah, let's keep it rolling. The big question, though, this is the big question, is do we have more Trey on the air or not? That's going to be up to the fans, because, we love Trey. I just want to know if you guys want more Trey or less. I don't know if anyone's going to say less Trey. Trey, I'm just messing with you. Trey does a fantastic job of producing the show.
I'm with Bruno. I think Trey can jump on any time that you step out of line, and he's done a nice job of that. But only angry Trey. I love angry Trey. Guys, but I think with that, we're going to take a quick break here. So go grab yourself a drink, grab yourself a snack. When we come back, I don't know if you were a Blue Jays fan 6 months ago. I certainly wasn't following the team, but you know what, Chev? I'm getting excited now. So a little bit of Jays talk on the other side. See you in a bit.
Performance Freight Management is a global logistic freight shipping company that will handle the entire shipping process for any package to any country. Whether it be a simple truck shipment from your office to Toronto or your company importing generators from China, PFM Freight handles it all. We have the expertise and technology to handle any shipping requirements. Skip the guesswork and let us take the shipping pain off your plate.
Do you want your business to be known? YYCCalgaryBusiness.ca is Calgary's only online media platform that gets you noticed. Short-form video content is rapidly taking over as the most effective way to engage your audience. Whether you're being interviewed on a vodcast, sharing a sizzle reel, or even hosting your own show, there is one place you can publicize your business. We want to tell your story and introduce you to our network of empowered business owners and leaders right here in Calgary. Isn't it time you took your digital game to 11? Call us or email us now.
Welcome back. It's the ride with Chevy and Nasty. And Chev, I'll tell you what, I was just a little bit relieved to see you sitting here when I got back.
Did you think I was gone?
Ominous? Not, felt a little ominous there in that last how you left.
Oh no, I just, like I said, I mean, listen, sometimes you got filet mignon. You get a little tired of eating it every night. I'm not saying we eat filet mignon every night, but, and I'm not saying I'm tired of the show, but there's times where it's like, you even said that you're tired. And like, you know, if I got no food here for the kids, especially on the weeks I got the kids or you know, it's a mess. The only person that's going to clean is me. And if I'm spending all my nights doing the show and then going to bed at, you know, I wind down from the show sometimes at 1:45 in the morning.
Yeah.
And I'm up the next day at 5, and it kind of messes my whole week up. Yeah. But I do it because I love it. I'm consistent with the show, and I'm consistent with weightlifting. And there's days where I hate weightlifting. There's days where I hate training, but I'm still doing it because it's important for me. And I think this is one thing that touches on something that's important for me. It's creative. I love being creative. I love to talk. I love to see you and see my friends. And we don't get together outside of the show. So this is almost like a carryover of COVID. And then, you know, we bring some people along for the ride and we produce a little show. Maybe one day we can make some money off it where, you know, it actually becomes a thing that we're like, oh, we're not going to be rich off it. But, you know, maybe we get a few more sponsors. We get some people say, hey, you know, maybe get syndicated. And someone says, yeah, we want to put your show somewhere. And maybe you guys can fancy it up in the background, like when you fancy up your background. And maybe I move myself out of this tiny living room. But yeah, it's going to go somewhere. It's going to go beyond 100 episodes. And, you know, there might be weeks where we take a break, but we'll try to let you guys know well in advance. You know, our good friend Rubio has a show. And if you haven't seen the Rubio method, he takes breaks. He's a busy guy. And there's days where he's just like, I can't do the show because I'm traveling across the United States. And he's a one-man band, but he gets it done. What's Cozy saying?
Trace, throw that up there. Todd Kozak says, hey, Chevy, I appreciate you. I just want you to accept McJesus into your heart and you'll be saved forever.
Born again Oiler. I'm a born again Oiler. You know what? I'm not a born again Oiler, but there's parts of me yesterday that's got a bit of the born again Blue Jay fan because I wasn't watching the series. And I told you, I don't follow baseball, but in the World Series, I pay attention. And I paid attention during the Yankees series and I was feeling okay, but I knew that there was something a little different yesterday when I was on the football field coaching the Mavericks football, and it was right towards the end of practice. We did our little, you know, end of practice huddle, and coach was addressing the team, and Robin Bose, your good friend Robin, who coaches the Pee Wee team, and we coach his son Declan, and what's his other boy's name that's in Pee Wee?
Fian.
Yeah. So Robin comes over and he's got his phone. He's holding his phone. He's not even watching the game. He just has the box score on his thing, and he's refreshing it with his thumb every 5 seconds. And we're looking at the box score and the pitch count, both staring at his phone for the little dot to turn red for a strike. And it goes red. Then it goes green. Oh, then red. Then green. Then green. We're like, oh, come on. Come on. It's the last pitch of the game. And we see red and we're like, yes. So I knew it was something special in me because I got the little goosebumps watching a lifeless
box score. The box
score.
Yeah.
That's what I knew. And I'm sure. What was the experience like for you? Because I imagine you were watching it.
Yeah, I was. So I've committed to watch. I've watched basically every game in the playoffs. I don't always get to watch them live, but I've seen every game. And you know me, I'm the Westerner with a grudge against anything east of Manitoba. To me, it might as well be Newfoundland. But Ernie Regas, my father-in-law, big Jays fan, they're watching it every day. And I couldn't help but follow along and say, you know what? If they get in, if they're making a good showing, I'm going to get behind this thing. And it turned out it didn't matter what I said. There's something about Canada's team, and because the Jays truly are Canada's team. When they make a run and when they've got that chemistry in that locker room, they're fun to watch. It's exciting. And it's good to get excited once in a while. And you're talking about last night watching like guys like George Springer. Dude, I didn't know who this guy was 6 months ago. I honestly didn't. I had no idea. I didn't know
who he was 5 weeks ago.
Yeah, I knew Bo Bichette, who's not even playing right now. But the way that these guys have come together in the playoffs, they were, remember, just a week or two out, the bats went dead. The bullpen was getting lit up. They look like, this is just another dud Jays team that's just, gets everybody excited for a few games and it's over. But the way these guys have come together, it's amazing. Dude, they have this pitcher, Scherzer. I never heard of this guy either. Apparently he's going to be a Hall of Famer someday. He's won a series before. He's at least been to the series before. He's got one gray eye and one blue eye. Just intense. And when he got up there, I think it was Trey, correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was the game 4. And he just starts lighting up the Mariners. Dude, that's one of the most impressive pitching, most intense pitcher I think I've seen in decades.
Yeah, and he was like mad at Schneider, the manager, when he went to go take him out of the game, and he like told him to F off and go back to the dugout.
Yeah, he sent the manager back.
And then he struck him out. It was awesome.
Yeah.
That's amazing. See that? So, like I said, I don't follow baseball anymore, but I follow enough sports to know the gravity of a situation. And Game 7 for Toronto, being an underdog, a constant underdog this year. I mean, at one point, they're playing 500 ball and it wasn't going where they thought it would. Their bats lit up against the Yankees, those first 2 games especially. Went a little cold, but they pulled it off. It wasn't going to be easy. Nothing's easy in the postseason. And then this game goes to 7. I mean, Game 7 in any sport, in any country, is a big deal. But when you talk about Game 7 in Toronto, you'll usually always think about hockey. You always think about hockey. And this is baseball. And for me, again, I didn't have the experience of watching it, but I do go way back to the Joe Carter era. That's when I kind of followed the Blue Jays a bit. And you could, again, it was in those days where the American League didn't cross over much with the National League. I was a big Expos fan. We'll talk about that in a second. But this was a big moment. This was a huge moment in Toronto sports history. A couple of weeks ago,
Canadian
Canadian,
I'll even like to talk about Canadian sports history. Did you guys see the ratings on this one? There was 11.8 million Canadians watching this game. I mean, that is unheard of. You just don't see that in Canada. I mean, the closest thing I think we've had to that recently was, I'm sure, a Stanley Cup. But I want to believe that this actually beat the Stanley Cup. Did it not?
Yeah, for sure it did. Probably
Gord Downey's last concert with Tragically Hip, that was up in the 8-9 million viewers.
Let me ask you this. Among all the hoopla and hype, 20 million people watching on both sides of the border. I asked a few weeks ago when Vladdy hit those 2 Grand Slams 2 weeks in a row. Was that one of the biggest? Was that bigger than the Jose Bautista bat flip? And Trey was adamant, no, it was not. Was last night's 3-run dinger by George Springer bigger than the Joey Bats flip?
Yes. To set them to the World Series, I mean, the Bautista flip was awesome, and I'll always remember that. But that was in the divisional series, and that was, I mean,
So
going
this
to the
is
World
it. The
Series
next step is Joe Carterville if they win this, right? Because
yeah, basically
that's the pinnacle. That's the pinnacle right now. Is Joe Carter home run, jumping the bases. That's. I mean, you weren't born during that, but we
It's like
were.
my dad remembers
We were
that.
kids when we
Yeah.
watched that, and that was like, again, I wasn't the biggest Toronto Blue Jays fan, but when they made it to the World Series, all of Canada was tuned in, and it was a big moment. I mean, I hope I'm on the bandwagon for this one, but a little bittersweet, guys, a little bittersweet. And I mentioned in the poem, I think Sheldon was baiting me at the beginning of the segment when he said, the Blue Jays are Canada's team. I really think you were baiting me.
I was trying to get a reaction from you.
Well, I held it. Canada's team. You know how I feel about that. I used to be a Leafs fan at one point, especially a point where I wasn't a Canadiens fan, but I always liked the Leafs. I liked it until this marketing of Canada's team. And it's only Canada's team if it comes from Toronto. And that seems to be hockey. Obviously, it's basketball. Obviously, it's baseball right now. But the Canada's team moniker almost seems like it needs to be Canada's team because we need you all to watch, because we need to justify paying Vladimir Guerrero Jr. $500 million. So it better be Canada's team because we need you to tune in. And it's manufactured and artificial to me. Yes, they're Canada's only baseball team now. They're in the World Series. So yes, Canada's going to buy in. But for many of us, I got to tell you, Canada's team was the Montreal Expos. And the heart is still empty over that. And so watching this is still very bittersweet for someone like me who grew up in the Olympic Stadium. I lived about 10 minutes from the Big O. I went to games endlessly in the summers. You could buy a $5 ticket, go in and buy a $5 hot dog and a drink. I was there entire summers with my dad, with my neighbors. Like, baseball was part of my fabric until it was ripped away. And I have not watched a baseball game since. Like a full baseball game, I have not watched it. Broke 2.3 million people's hearts. A lot of baseball fans.
More than that. I mean, we were Expos fans growing up. I think Al Oliver was wasn't he the first baseman for the Expos at one point, or did he? I might be combined, or Dawson, or were those Jays?
Andre Dawson.
Yeah, I think Al Oliver was a Expo as well. I grew up watching those guys too, and I know you've seen this. We talked about it the other day. There's now a special out on Netflix. Who killed the Expos? Yep. Now, I'm from Saskatchewan. We've had Saskatchewan Roughriders. We've always had Saskatchewan Roughriders. We haven't lost any other teams. We're free to cheer for who we want to cheer in every other major sport except the CFL. But I always wondered what it's like if you're one of those guys in a town that can't hold a team, whether you can't get the support out, or whether it's a business decision by the owner that just yanks it, like with the Browns years ago. What was that like? What did that do to kids in Montreal who their whole life had just been following that team?
Sheldon, it was terrible. Like, I mean, the Expos were around from the 60s to 2000. I believe it was 2000 and 2004, excuse me. And
so they predate the Blue Jays then, because the Jays.
The Blue Jays came in the 70s. They were the first Canadian Major League franchise. In fact, I just watched this Netflix documentary, and it is fantastic, by the way. It really talks about the demise of the Expos, and it really, honestly, like, you get, for someone like me, and I'm sure many Montreals, you get emotional watching this because you remember the heyday. You remember how great the team was in the 80s with the Gary Cotters, like you mentioned, Tim Wallachs. The pitching staff, Dennis Martinez. Then the roll into the great era of Pedro Martinez, Larry Walker, Marquise Grissom. I mean, they were a phenomenal team. They had the greatest manager in baseball at the time, Felipe Alou, and then John Wetland pitcher, and then the strike hits, 1994 strike, and it really killed the team. Now, there was economic elements at play before the team died, but really after the strike, and then the local ownership couldn't put the money. They basically fire sailed the team the next year. They traded all their great players for nothing, and then they wound up losing attendance. People were mad at the team. They wanted to build a new stadium. The money wasn't there, and then it was an ownership fiasco where they brought in an American who basically sabotaged the team so he could wind up eventually getting out of Montreal. He winds up owning the Florida Marlins. Major League Baseball winds up owning the Expos, and then they move him to Washington, and that was it. And it was tough. And I remember I got cut from the NFL in 2002 when I got cut by the Bengals before I signed with the Edmonton Eskimos, excuse me. I was going to baseball games in the fall. And so to not have that team, think about this, Sheldon. Everyone that moves from Saskatchewan to Calgary, BC, Montreal, they don't convert. They don't become Calgary Flames fans. They don't or Calgary Stampeder fans. They don't become BC Lion fans. They are always rooting for the Riders. And when the Riders roll into town, they make a point of going, just like me with the Montreal Canadiens. Montreal Canadiens is part of my blood.
Yeah, but we're talking about teams that like have left. Like, so
but that's what I'm saying.
When they went to Washington, are you now suddenly a Washington fan? Like,
no,
like,
but this is what I'm telling you.
When your team's gone, is your team gone?
But that's what I'm telling you. Imagine if the Riders were blipped off the face of the earth and you moved to Calgary. Can you ever really feel like you're a Calgary Flames fan? Just knowing that the hole back home that's emptied because the Riders are no longer there. Well, that's how I think I feel. Like that's how you don't recover from that. Like I have not watched a full baseball game since the Expos left town.
And that's actually a good example, because what would Saskatchewan be without the Rough Riders? Sure, it's still a great province, but that's pulling the heart and soul out of a province. If they were to lose a franchise like that. Jamin lost the Jets.
Jamin lost the Jets. Did you pull for the Phoenix Coyotes for all those years? All those Cleveland Browns fans, they rioted in the streets when they moved to Baltimore. They were rioting so much that they had to award them a franchise. Otherwise, it was going to go nuts. I mean, so many teams have left towns. Do the Oakland Raider fans all of a sudden think, oh yeah? I mean, the team didn't change names, but do they? I mean, the Raiders,
the St. Louis Rams.
Yeah,
how many places did that team traveled?
So many. St. Louis, LA. Like it's different when your team moves and changes names. So like the Rams, they moved to LA. They're still the Rams. I assume there's going to be a lot of St. Louis fans that carry over. Maybe, I don't know, or Oakland Raiders that move. But when your team moves and changes names and takes on a whole different identity, is it still your team? Look at the Quebec Nordiques. You know,
totally. You know what I think? I think if you lose your team, like Jamie just said, Winnipeg was a different city without the Jets.
Yeah,
it changed things, and it's a gut punch. But it's now the Phoenix Coyotes. I think in a case where the team like if I'm an Oakland Raiders fan, well, LA Raiders. I mean, whoever was, I think Oakland was probably some of the most vicious of the fans that they had. They're avid of the fans. I'm trying to say. They were in LA too. Level of gut punch. Yeah, years ago they were in LA. That's a whole other gut punch. Yeah, to see them out there, it's like your girlfriend married your best friend from high school.
Yeah, right? There were some diehard Phoenix Coyotes fans. After they left the Jets, they were in Phoenix. They couldn't make it work, and now they're in Salt Lake City. Do those fans? Does that void filled? Like there's people that's
different than the Montreal the Montreal Expos or the Winnipeg Jets or the Raiders or anything like that, because obviously they didn't have enough of a fan base. So some places do deserve, whether it's bad ownership or the city didn't get its act together, the fans didn't get their act. Some franchises aren't going to last.
Well, and what happened in Major League Baseball to the Expos is Montreal didn't have any generational wealth. It was all institutional. There wasn't a long lineup of investors that were ready to invest. And at that point, the contracts were going so crazy. It was the haves and have-nots. And Montreal was the have-nots with Canadian revenue, but U.S. contracts. And it killed them. And they didn't have a rich owner that could bankroll that. And so they left. And it left a huge hole. The thing for me, which is crazy, is I never watched football growing up. Why didn't I watch football? Because the Alouettes had left town in the 80s, right when I was starting football. So for me, it was hockey and baseball. But then the Expos leave. It was right when the Alouettes were getting hot. I mean, the Alouettes got back to town in 92 or 93, but they started building that fan base. But the minute the Expos left, I mean, if you weren't the Canadians fans, all your entertainment money went to the Alouettes, and the Alouettes benefited from that for years. And do I think Montreal is a baseball town? 100%. Is the money there now? I'm not sure. I haven't been in Montreal for 25 years, but I'm going to tell you, like, this Blue Jay thing, I can get behind because, like I said, I love the underdog, and I can get behind them more because I think they're the they're a heavy underdog in this versus the Dodgers with Shohei Ohtani and their bankrolled team that they built. I am really hoping that this turns into a David versus Goliath thing, because the one thing, at least for Montreal fans, to kind of bring them aboard, like if you say, man, I hate Major League Baseball and I'm an Expos fan and I'm so mad, the one thing that can kind of pull you aboard the Blue Jays ship is one name, Vladdy Guerrero. Because his dad was one of the great Expos that carried that franchise for years. And he was that exciting player that should have been there, played out his career in Montreal before they left. And so now we get a chance, maybe at a little redemption with Junior there. Because Junior was also part of the fabric of the Montreal Expos. I mean, he was always on the sidelines. He was a little fat kid running around playing, and now here he is, major leagues, one of the greatest players in the majors. So there is some draw, but it's bittersweet for Montrealers. It's bittersweet, and I'm sure it would be for any team, going to the Stanley Cup that moved. Like for all those Quebec Nordique fans, when they saw their team winning, a bunch of Stanley Cups as the Colorado Avalanche, yeah, it's our team, but it's not our team.
Yeah, Rob Evans just writes the Avalanche and the NHL coming out with that Nordiques jersey this week is a gut punch to Quebec fans. I didn't even see the Nordiques jersey, to be honest with you, but I'm gonna have to check that out for sure.
The hardest thing is I was watching this Montreal Expos documentary, and I strongly suggest you guys watch it because it really is pretty raw. It has all the major players. The hardest thing, and I remember it was kind of traumatizing when the Expos moved. You're obviously paying attention. And when they moved to Washington, the mayor of Washington had this speech like, finally, baseball is back where it belongs. And it was like this whole rah, baseball is American and baseball, blah, blah, blah. And he's kind of giving this speech. And I felt like I did 24 years ago. Pissed off that, like, how dare this guy not even consider the millions of fans in Canada that love that team. Like, and he's just like, nah, you guys don't deserve a team. We deserve it. And it was tough to watch. I'm telling you, it was tough to watch, but it was cool. It was cool to kind of relive that because if anything, there's an emotional attachment to sports that we can get behind. And sometimes it pisses us off. Sometimes when a guy, talks poorly about one of the greatest players of all time, Cozy's gonna give me shit. And sometimes when the Blue Jays are in the World Series and I should be happy for them, there's a little part of me that's not, because I still wish the Expos were playing. And that's what sports does. It kind of pulls at your emotional heartstrings, and it makes you feel good, and sometimes it makes you feel bad. But nobody dies. And you get to talk about it the next week.
There you go. And with that, guys, I think we're going to take another break. We went long on that. That was a good one. Like, you get me thinking, what if the Rough Riders were no longer in Regina? It would have changed my childhood in North Battleford. So it's definitely sports teams play a big part of people's upcoming.
I know we're going to take a break, but so tomorrow I'm going to the game. I'm going to the Habs game. I tell Brittany, hey, I'm going with Kyle and I got to get him a jersey. She's like, who's Kyle rooting for? I'm like, he's rooting for the Habs, of course. She's like, but he wasn't even born in Montreal. I'm like, when it's in your blood, it's in your blood. Like, you can't get away from it when it's in your blood, and it's in his blood. And it's probably because it's in my blood and it's in his blood. And I'm sure that's the writer thing. Yeah, that's the writer thing. So if it's in your blood, it's in your blood. And when it's taken away and you got nothing left to root for, you sure do feel empty. And I got to tell you, that's how I feel when I think about baseball sometimes.
All right, guys, take a quick break. When we come back, we do have some studs and duds, a little bit more discussion carrying on. We'll keep it kind of short-ish. We always try.
We won't. Anyway. I got one for you.
We're gonna try our best. We'll see you guys here on the other side, right here on The Ride.
Performance Freight Management is a global logistic freight shipping company that will handle the entire shipping process for any package to any country. Whether it be a simple truck shipment from your office to Toronto or your company importing generators from China, PFM Freight handles it all. We have the expertise and technology to handle any shipping requirements. Skip the guesswork and let us take the shipping pain off your plate.
Do you want your business to be known? YYCCalgaryBusiness.ca is Calgary's only online media platform that gets you noticed. Short-form video content is rapidly taking over as the most effective way to engage your audience. Whether you're being interviewed on a vodcast, sharing a sizzle reel, or even hosting your own show, there is one place you can publicize your business. We want to tell your story and introduce you to our network of empowered business owners and leaders right here in Calgary. Isn't it time you took your digital game to 11? Call us or email us now.
Thanks, guys, for joining us on this 97th episode of The Ride with Chevy and Nasty. We're brought to you each week by Performance Freight Management, We Drone Real Estate Media, and YYC Business. And you can find us where you get all your socials at Chevy and Nasty, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, all that stuff. And again, as we mentioned, we love going live, but if you miss it, if you fall asleep, tell a friend they can catch the episode the next day, whether it's on YouTube or on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, because I think sometimes we talk about some good stuff. Like, I actually think that was a great sports discussion. If I go back to, was it Cruikshank's comment, Matt? Is that the name, Matt? Where he said, give insight. I feel like that was a great sports discussion. We didn't need to know the stats. We just need to know, what happens. Can you imagine when the Baltimore left the
Cleveland.
CFL? No, I'm talking about when Baltimore left. The Stallions left. They were the only surviving team. They found a soft spot to land in Montreal, but there were a lot of CFL fans in Baltimore that felt empty. And remember, they had no NFL team because the Colts had left for Indianapolis. They didn't have the Ravens at that time. They were a football-starved market. And when football came to that city in the form of the CFL, they were loyal and they embraced it. And then
to
they
this
left.
day it remains. They still travel. They still come to the Grey Cups every year. I mean, that was almost weird. They how much that caught on in that city that far.
I wonder if I'm thinking football, and maybe this is kind of, I'm going a little tangent here. I'll come back, but all the moves the CFL's made or making to change rules, field dimensions, and all that, is this potentially a move to attract some of those cities that do really well but don't necessarily have an NFL franchise? Like, look at St. Louis. In the last couple of years of XFL, UFL, and whatever iteration that's been, they've always drawn well. Anywhere from 25 to even 60,000 fans for those Battle Hawks that they've had. Well, CFL would die for a crowd like that. So is that maybe something that they're looking at, maybe attracting some of those fans that are pissed off that they don't have their NFL team, or, if the UFL goes under, who knows? But I definitely know that fans are passionate, and when they're passionate, they follow. And when there's nothing to follow, it's hard to redirect that passion to another team and just adopt a new team. I think that's hard.
Yeah.
Where you want to go now?
Yeah, this is your ride, Chev. Where are we going?
Well, Sheldon, there you go. Apparently it's Trey's ride. So we got some studs and duds this week, Sheldon. Trey, flash one up. Tell me where we're going to start. You let us know what we're starting with, and I'll kind of give the oh, shoot. Well, we starts with that. Trey with Chevy was okay. So there's a backstory. Look at this picture here. This is me going nuts.
And I don't know the story at all.
Yeah, no. I sprung this one on you. Okay, you decide if I'm a stud or a dud. So yesterday I come home from work, get home late. I got to get Kyle to football practice. We're having meetings up at the Charles Genn Toyota at 6:30 film meeting, right? So it's not our usual practice time, and I got to get him there, but I got to get him fed, and I'm home late from work. So we decide to go to the Noodle Box in Crowfoot, and I don't care that I'm saying this, but like it's Noodle Box in Crowfoot is about 10 minutes from Charles Glenn Toyota. It's $5.50. I know because I'm looking, okay, what are options for dinner? I didn't want to do a burger because it's not super healthy. I figured noodles is good. Noodle Box, if you've ever been there, it's really good food. I'm like, it's $5.50. We walk in. I'm like, with $5.50, even if it takes about 15 minutes to make the order, we can grab it and we can go and get there. Ideally, I wanted to eat it there. So we get in $5.50, maybe by $5.53, I order, and that's being generous with the wait time. I think it was probably like $5.51 and a half. I order the food. He puts it in. He's got a couple of other orders that he's preparing. He's got 4 of them. There's only one guy working there. So I figure, okay, it might take 5 minutes to get the food going. Anyhow, he gets by 6 o'clock. There's no food being cooked. I'm like, oh, geez, what's going on? Come on, man. Come on, man. Meanwhile, there's people walking in. There's like 17 guys with skip the dishes bags, right? So I had paid for my food and everything. Now I'm kind of losing it. And it's 6:05. Like now, a lot of time has passed, and I know my order has not been placed. My son forgot his phone at my house, and that's the night where he transfers to his mom's house. He's like, hey, Dad, do you think you can go back to my house and get it? And I didn't want to because I was like super impatient. But at the same time, I'm like, I better get out of here because I'm going to be pacing the whole time. So I'm like, I'll go. I said, you get the order, wait for me outside. I run back home. Takes me about 7 minutes. I calculated the whole round trip would take me like 12 minutes, maybe a bit more, maybe 14 minutes. Go home, check for the phone. I can't find it. I get back to the Noodle Box. Now it's 6:20, Sheldon. And there's no Kyle waiting outside. There's no freaking food being cooked, but there's no more skip the dishes guys in the restaurant. I walk in the thing and I yell at the guy. I'm like, hey, buddy, what the hell is going on? Like I yelled and people looked at me. I was mad. I was raging. My son looked at me. He's like, holy geez. So I raged.
I thought you said there's no son.
Oh, Kyle was there. He was. No, I'm saying he was waiting for the order. I'm saying he didn't come outside with the bag, so I had to go in.
Right,
and be like,
gotcha. Yeah.
What the hell? So I'm yelling at the guy, like I'm mad. Like there was no middle ground. It was like this should have been ready. I'm late. We're gonna be late.
What time is this now? 6:15.
Not 6:20. I had time to go home and come back. 6:20. I got in there at 10 to 6. This is like a half hour later, and there's nothing ready. He's like, "Oh, give me 5 minutes." He's like, I'm by myself. I yell at him, I don't care that you're by yourself. Everyone else is gone that came in behind me, except for the lady that's sitting here eating. I said, I need my order. So I was pissed. I wanted to get my $5 tip back because I freaking hit the auto tip by accident. And I was just fuming. And then my son said, Dad, do you want to wait in the car and I'll come with the food? And I was like, yeah, I think I should. But I was mad. So I raged. And I don't know if I'm a stud or dud for this because people like, you yelled at the guy. I'm like, yeah, I actually yelled at the guy. And maybe it was, just frustrations of we're going to be late and all that. But I just want to know, am I a stud or a dud for yelling?
I'm not going to be too hard on you, but that's a bit, dude's working there. He's by himself. Do you know why he's there by himself? Because he's having a really bad freaking day. Other people have called in. He's stuck there. And here's the other problem with the reality of things these days. Yeah, skip the dishes is great, except for when you actually go in a restaurant. Because those orders are placed and they seem to take precedence over in-store things. How I would and so yell at a guy making $15 an hour working behind the counter who's just trying to get through his night. Yeah, he doesn't need that. I'm sure he understands it. You're not the first guy that he's had to deal with that comes off on him. But I'm going to suggest you, Chev, there's other ways he could have handled it. I loved your planning. I loved your logical step-by-step plan the route, 7 minutes there, 7 minutes back. We're golden. This should be good. But the only thing I would suggest is before you ran home, I'd be like, hey boss, how are you looking? Oh dude, I'm getting swamped here. Here's my situation. I got to be out of here in 15 minutes. Is that going to happen? Because if not, I got to take my order and go. Because I can't be here 15 minutes from now. I have to be gone. Right. And then communicating that, calling him boss, treating him the man with respect, he might be able to work that order in a little bit quicker. He didn't know what you were. There was just some dad and his kid coming home from soccer practice or whatever. Like he had no idea what was going on. He's following protocols. He might have even screwed up, Chev. He might have screwed up. But to yell at a guy making minimum wage working at Noodle House, not your finest hour. Do I understand where you're coming from, Chev? I 100% do. But
I didn't swear at him.
Yeah, there. It's that pressure though. It's also that football culture. 6:30 means 6:25.
Yeah.
Right. You don't show up late as a coach. Your son's the running back on the team. You don't walk in late when everybody else is expecting. I get the pressure.
You know what it was, Sheldon? You know what it was? And again, I'm not going to apologize to him. Like, he got $5 of my tip money that he definitely didn't deserve. A noodle box shouldn't cost you $48, but somehow it did. I mean, it's fast food and it was 30 minutes long. So I don't feel that bad. Because the expectations when you go into
that's what makes you dud. The fact that you don't feel bad about your action is what makes you.
No, I kind of feel bad, but I don't feel bad because when I start looking at and I should.
Was that yesterday? Was that yesterday?
Yeah, it was yesterday. And I should.
You said you had a headache last night.
And I should be a second class citizen because I didn't order it off a guy that's going to deliver it in a bag in a car cold. Like I should feel, and I think it was also because I was coming from having waited an hour in line for voting for the mayor of Calgary.
Let me get my stutter done here first. So let me get my stutter done here.
Go ahead.
So this weekend, I had a good buddy of mine, Cozy, who we've talked about before. He was in town. His son Jacob is wrestling with the junior Huskies. Now, this kid was the one, if you guys remember, he just won the U17 as a 15-year-old. For his
congratulations
in wrestling. Well, that was back in the summer, that or late spring. This weekend, the season is just starting to kick off again, and they have in Calgary what's called the Dino Open. And what the Open tournament is, it's a university tournament. So you get the Dinos, U of A guys, Simon Fraser guys are there even at this tournament, but you also get former collegiate guys that have gone on to Worlds. So you get a range of kids from university up until like 30-year-old. You could have 40-year-old men there. But they also allow a select number of high school students. So Jacob Kozak comes from Saskatoon. He comes up to the Dinos Classic. His dad's nervous as hell. I mean, dude, my kid's going to be wrestling men. This one guy that he had to wrestle was at one point in his career ranked number 3 in the world at this weight class. So he's really nervous. I just hope my son doesn't get hurt. Dude, the kid goes 3-1, beats 3 university wrestlers from U of A, Simon Fraser, and UFC. Dude, talk about a phenom. For me, my stud of the week, and I brought this kid up before, but I'm super proud of him. It feels like he's my nephew. You know what I mean? Like that kind of relationship.
Yeah.
He came up here. The fear of having your kid start a football game at the university level when he's in grade 11. And have him come out being the top player. He didn't win the tournament. He made it to the gold medal round. The world ranked guy beat him in less than 2 minutes, but he also, I think that was his longest match of the night. I was proud of the kid. It's good to see when kids do well. And Jacob Kozak, you're definitely my stud this weekend. It was awesome to see you. It was fun to spend some time with your dad. And good luck as you go on the rest of your season.
That's a stud move. I mean, that's a stud move. To
scary move, isn't it?
Dominate. It's scary, but it's pretty cool. And I mean, we talked about that Smashing Machine movie a couple of weeks ago, and lately, I guess my algorithm has been all that. And I've been seeing these old wrestling matches between Kurt Angle and Mark Kerr before, their amateur wrestling matches. Before Angle went to the Olympics and win the gold medals. Man, that's an intense sport. I kind of wish that I had a bit more exposure to that sport. Growing up, it wasn't big in at least in our part of Montreal. I know there was a good wrestling club in Montreal and a lot of big time guys went, but where I grew up, it wasn't a sport that anyone really participated in. But man, what a cool sport. And for those athletes, there's a path to professional athletics after that. Like, whether it's a UFC or some of these wrestling outfits around the world, it's not just like, hey, you compete and then you're done. And I mean, I know when we look at Brock Lesnar's and the Kurt Angles and the Sheldon Benoit's or Shelton Benjamin of the world, these guys are some of the best, but man, path for young Cozy. I mean, seems like the sky's the limit, and it'll be exciting to keep tabs on him. And maybe,
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
maybe he's the generational athlete that I've been waiting for, because I don't think Connor McDavid is yet, but I'm going to put all my money on Cozy's kid because he seems to have all the right stuff at the right time in his life, and looking forward to see what he does next step. So he's with the Huskies. And
the
that's
junior Huskies. It's club. He also wrestles high school. He also has private, like they've gone all out. This guy trains with like world class guys. And in fact, it was funny, at the end of the summer when he just got back from Japan, one of his training partners was going into one of his competitions, like a 27-year-old guy.
Yeah.
He actually needed Jacob to train with him. And Jacob was exhausted, and he was trying to make the decision, well, this guy's giving me so much. Do I go be his training partner for another 2 weeks, or do I take that downtime? And of course he went and was his sparring partner for a couple more weeks to help him out. So good kid.
That's crazy. Yeah, no, and the wrestling's great. I think I mentioned on the show before, my buddy Curtis Kaye, his daughter Mackenzie, she's been in school with my son Luke since kindergarten, and she's the rookie of the year at the UFC. She wins jiu-jitsu tournaments. I'm sure Jacob knows who she is because they probably wrestle at these. If she's at the Dino thing, she's won everything. She was a rookie of the year in all of Canada, and she won her weight class. And she competes in I don't know if it's the Pan Ams. Like, she's always in Europe or in South America, wrestling in Brazil and stuff. So, you know, it's pretty interesting sport. I don't know too much about it, but
Same as me.
Definitely nice to follow people, you know, doing well in a sport that, you know, you don't necessarily always follow. It gets it gets your attention. So Jacob's a stud.
Jamin asked the Jays manager, is he a stud or a dud for dropping 2 F-bombs on live TV interview after the Jays win? Did you see that?
Yeah, I did.
What's his name again? What's your take on that? Stud or dud?
That's a stud. I mean, that's emotion. Like when emotion is there, you know, like there's a lot of emotion there. I mean, he's being authentic. It's not like he's just being how he is with the guys, you know. It's like, and that's what it should be. You know, the cameras are in their space. You know what I mean? That's their space. They're not. Yeah.
My other stat, George Springer. It was game 4, or I think it was game 5. Game 5. They were up, and Wu comes in as a reliever, nails him right in the back knee with a 98-mile-an-hour fastball.
Yep.
It sounded like a bat. I don't know if you got a chance to see that or not.
No, I
sounded
didn't.
like the ball hitting the bat, and it was his knee. He's instantly on the ground, just rolling and writhing in pain. But he took every minute that he could. It's probably 5 minutes with the trainers out there. Got up, walked around. He started running bases on the field just because he didn't want to come out of the game. Because you know, when you get that sudden pain, Charlie horse, I might be screwed, but I might be okay. And to watch this guy go through what he had to go through to try to stay in that game, dude, just the heroic effort. I love everything about the Jays right now. There's so many great stories out there.
Oh, that's good. I'm going to pull out another starter dud this week in an interview. Sean Payton, head coach of the Denver Broncos, after they just barely eked out a win over the New York Giants, which is where Russell Wilson plays, his former quarterback. First of all, Sean Payton goes on and he says basically, you know, he really likes their quarterback, the new guy.
You're talking about the Giants quarterback?
Yeah, Dart.
Yeah, Dart.
He likes Dart, and he has very good relations with the owners of the Giants because he spent a few years there. And he was telling them that he really had wished that they wouldn't pull the trigger to start him until after the game against the Broncos, implying that he felt like it would be a lot easier to play against Russell Wilson, his former quarterback in Denver. And then Russell Wilson fires back. And he says, that's classless, but I'm not surprised. I didn't realize you'd still be bounty hunting 15 years later through the media. And the bounty hunting is referring to the scandal that got Sean Payton suspended when he's with the Saints. So this whole thing reeks of an ugly divorce in public. It's kind of a prolonged divorce between Payton and Russell Wilson. But is there any stud here? Is there any dud? Like, is Sean Payton stud or dud for kind of poking the bear and kind of really throwing that jab when it wasn't really necessary, but it's clear that he did that? And Russell Wilson, who's consistently taken the high road, you know, he pulls out his own jab of his own. Is he a stud for finally standing up for himself? Where do you fall between these two?
You know, I obviously there's no real stud there in with the coach, other than he's staying consistent because he does this year after year. He always is making inappropriate comments. He's a troll. He is what he is, Peyton. But yeah, Russell Wilson. I like that.
Made a movie
you know, my
with
favorite thing
the
about
guy.
Russell Wilson was he didn't get butthurt. He didn't come off on some sanctimonious tirade and try to make him look bad. Classless was all he had to say. He finished it with emojis. I mean, I'll tell you what, if we could diffuse more fights with emojis, you know, then the world would be a better place. So yeah, you know, I like the way he handled it. Of course, Peyton is like out of line, but that's him. You expect it. He's a troll.
What's the name of the comedian that they made the Sean Payton movie of, where he goes back while during his suspension year and he
yeah, I forget his name.
Paul Blart, Mall Cop guy. Whatever his name. Yeah, Sean Payton is Mall Cop. And yeah, I just think it's unnecessary. Listen, you guys are professional, you're paid, and you're doing Kevin James, and you're taking shots at a guy that hasn't played for you in 2 years. Like, he did what he could to make you win. He obviously didn't do it. He didn't get the job.
And he's in the twilight of his career, just trying to help out where he can and stay in the league. Just make a paycheck, you know?
Yeah. Like everybody else in that league, you know, and but I think this one is far from over. I think there's going to be a little bit more. But yeah, I don't know if I have any more studs and duds. Trey, was there another one up there that we were talking about or thinking about this week? Because I pulled a surprise one. Sheldon pulled a surprise one.
I think a good way to end it off is something that I brought to you guys in the chat about a week ago. Maybe.
Yeah,
I never read what you say, Trey. But
okay,
just kidding.
So
what you got? What you got?
This post came across my Instagram, and I thought it was very interesting. And so it was the hardest position in all of sports, and they ranked like the top. I guess there's 12 there. And so I know you guys probably have two separate opinions on it, and I probably have my own opinion on it myself too. So I just wanted to hear what you guys thought about this list, or if you had to make your own. Like, what are we looking like here?
Sheldon, what would be yours?
I knew this might be coming up. I was almost hoping we save this for a full segment because this is a good one, Trey. This is a good one.
Now let's hit it.
Let's hit it. Chev, you want to start it off? I'll start it. I'll start it off. For me, we talk about like they rank UFC fighters up there for a reason. That is one-on-one. You are training for weeks or months for your match, and it's all out. There's nowhere to hide. You get exposed. So it takes a lot of courage because you can get embarrassed and you can get beat. But that's no different to me than like an NHL goon, that knows they've got a fight or they've got a heavyweight bout coming that night. A lot of pressure. I'm gonna take it in a different direction. Talk about the difficulty, and this is not saying the CFL is a superior league, but I was always baffled by the abilities of a good boundary half. Where you get all the action going. I mean, the field half as well. The halfback position, to me, in Canadian football, is the hardest position to play because you're somewhere between a cornerback in the NFL and a strong safety and a linebacker. You got to step up and force on the run, take on big guys. Sometimes you have to take on blockers. You also have to deal with some of the toughest receivers and make all these reads. And if you're playing a zone defense and handing off zones in the CFL, that zone is like 40 yards wide. So for me, the Canadian halfback is one of the probably the most challenging position that you could play. Chev, to you.
I mean, it's so hard because I look at all these and I'm like, yeah, that's hard. Like, I couldn't play quarterback. Like, you got to stand in there hoping that everyone in front of you blocks for you so you can be the guy that delivers the victory for your team because everyone's relying on you and you got to know where everyone is at all times and where everyone is, including the defense. That's a tough ask of an individual. I think of a Formula One driver and I understand the G-forces they're under. I understand the length of time they're sitting in a car. Like, when I sit on the toilet for about 45 minutes, my legs go numb. I couldn't imagine sitting on a toilet, not being able to go on a toilet for 3 hours. So I think that's kind of crazy. But if I'm looking at this list, again, I would, the fighting thing, it's like, yeah, but you both have an opportunity to punch the crap out of each other. So yes, but the one that stands out for me, and I know we're talking baseball a lot, the pitcher. The pitcher for me, I think has to be the hardest position because you basically have to throw at least 3 hittable balls to the person in front of you that's a highly skilled individual. So you're literally in a sequence of about 7 pitches. You got to throw 3 balls that person is likely able to hit. And all you're trying to do is change up the speed or the angle, but it's got to go in that little box. And I think you got to do that 3 pitches in a row, 8 innings or 9 innings to be successful. And you get yanked when you load the bases. And just like, the other day, who was it? You said, was it Scherzer?
Scherzer.
Said, I'm not coming out. Most guys don't have that leeway. And that, for me, I think that's got to be tough, where you're literally gift wrapping to your opponent the ability to win the game. And then you have a moment like George Springer had, where it's the greatest moment in sports history in Canada, let's say, in recent memory, on the heels of some guys' poor choice in that moment. You know what I'm trying to say? Like,
and think about this. So I'm the starting pitcher. Yeah. Oh, is that what you're referring to?
Yeah.
That you could have an amazing effort, battle it through, and then your bullpen's somebody's just gonna screw it up for you.
And that
you
too.
Get the loss.
That too.
You don't get you earn the win, but this guy lost it for you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
and so the mental toil of coming out of a game. Yeah. Yeah. I would put it up there with. Do you think that's harder than NFL quarterback though?
I do, because an NFL quarterback, you have guys efforting to make you successful. As a pitcher, it's just, you could take everything away.
Take
your
I like
away.
it. You got defense behind you, but I like it. Yeah, what a mental job that is.
And you got to trust that if you do throw, the guy hits a homer or a pop fly, the guy behind you doesn't trip on the carpet and drop it, right? Like, there's so much that goes into being a pitcher, and then you just got to come back and say, oh well, our team screwed that up, but I'm going to strike out the next guy. Like, I got to assume it's a tough skill, so yeah. Let's take it opposite.
Okay, I wanted to throw a couple in there, just to throw a curveball at you guys.
Go.
Golfing or golfer, that sport makes, like, you guys look stupid, and you guys could do anything. Yeah. Tennis player, those guys just run around for 5 hours. They have nobody to coach them either. Like, that's all themselves. They're very, very difficult as well. You got to be in good shape to be a good tennis player. And I want to throw this one out for some of the listeners too. Bull riding. I think, like,
oh god,
those guys are just getting on a 2,000-pound bull and trying to ride it for 8 seconds. That
personifies that UFC fighter. It's one-on-one, right? 8 seconds. Except this thing is bred to kill you. So that's a good one. I
like all of those. I like all those. Golf is a mystery to me, and the reason it's a mystery to me is because I performed a closed skill for my entire career. When I talk about long snapping, someone could look at it and say that's a pretty damn hard thing, because you got to be 100% accurate on your throws all the time, or you're out of a job. So I get that pressure, and so for me, like, I never applied my ability, because it's not physical. What kept me employed into my 40s has nothing to do with my physical stature or how I snap the ball or my technique. It was all my mental. And I always wondered, well, if I was that good for that long in football, practicing a closed skill, could I be similarly good in golf, knowing what my mental game is like? The difference in golf is I think the elements play a lot more of a factor on your performance than, let's say, I would take my concentration factor and bring it to bowling. Like, I think I could be the greatest bowler of all time based on what I did in football, because bowling is an even more controlled environment. There's no wind, there's no rain, there's no snow. All it is once you figure out how to throw that ball down, you're just pitching strikes. But golf, it's tricky for me, because I wish I could have put in the amount of time that I did to become a great long snapper and see how good of a golfer I am. But I don't have the patience or the time for 18 holes. I barely could get this show off the ground once a week, right?
The problem is, once you played 10, or in your case 20 years in professional football, I'm not sure our body is quite as smooth on that stroke as it would have been when you're training when you're 16, 17, 18.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah. Let's flip it, guys. What's the easiest positions in sports? Do we have a list of easiest positions, or off the top of your head? Like,
I asked our friend ChatGPT what he thought some of the easiest ones was, because there wasn't an opposite post. And it said the easiest sport or the easiest position would be a right fielder in baseball. So they see the least amount of pop flies or whatever.
Yeah, good one.
And there's a lot of minimal fielding pressure.
But you got to hit though. You got to be a hitter. You got to be able to hit a curveball.
Yeah, so you got to be a hitter. So I think like being a DH where you just have to hit probably would be a little bit easier. There's a lot of soccer in here too, like a left back and a right back in soccer. First baseman as well. I mean, you could be 300 pounds and play first baseman. Yeah. I mean, you could be 300 pounds. Like, look at Kirk. Like, probably one of the most intelligent people in the league, but that's a big boy. Like, he doesn't have to be in shape to do his job.
I did some research too, Trey, and the one that kept coming up was a holder in football. Now, holder is
holder more than the long snapper. Holder more than the long snapper.
Yeah, holder.
What do you think, starter?
Holder is usually a punter, though, right?
Yeah, long snapper used to get hit, and there's still the element you got to throw the ball, but yeah. The holder is usually a backup quarterback or the punter. The next one is the punter in football. Yeah. Like I'm not saying there's not, but one, you can't get hit. So if the snap is there, you catch the ball, you punt it out of your hands, unless you are the worst punter in the world. And by the time you're at any decent level of punter, you're going to be pretty good to at least change field position, unless you shank it all the time and you got the yips.
But we're talking about think about this. I could be a retired soccer player, right? Retired at 33 years old, but I'm not quite done with the game yet. I've got a leg. I've got the ability. I could probably, if I set my mind to it, become a professional punter within 3 years.
Well, look at the Cowboys kicker. What's his name? Aubrey. Longest. I mean, he was a professional soccer player. Retired during COVID. His wife says you should do it, and he's like, okay, I'll do it. But the one I found is Chase Daniel, NFL quarterback, made over, I think they said, was it over almost $40 million in his career in the NFL as a third string backup quarterback. At one point, he was 9 years into his career, and he attempted 78 passes. And by that point, he had already made over $20 million by attempting 7. I think that would be a pretty sweet gig. There was another one the other day. He was on a podcast, Blake Bortles. I think the Jaguars had him for a bit, and he kind of bounced around. He made over $44 million in his career as a terrible backup. Did he play any games? I think he was the man.
He almost went to the Super Bowl. He almost beat the Patriots in the conference finals one year.
No one remembers almost. Only you do, Trey.
I bet the
how much money has Trey Lance made bouncing around from San Fran to Dallas to Chicago? Where is he now? Like, he's made a lot of money. So if you're the third string quarterback and you came from a decent college, I think that would be a pretty sweet gig. Yeah. Chances are you're
$34 million in his career.
Who's that? Trey Lance?
Trey Lance.
Yeah. So he's going to be a $40 million guy.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think a lot of people would say, well, a snapper is pretty easy, but long snapper, like I said, you got to be 100%. Even a kicker can miss a kick and not get fired.
And that's a great point. It's not the hardest thing to learn. It's not the hardest skill to get good at. You could probably get in there. I would say this: the long snapper is not the hardest position. It's the hardest position to stay employed for 18 years. Yeah, because you're right. You're one bad game away from
one bad snap.
One bad snap away from being the GOAT. So.
You remember Trey Junkin? He was your coach in Calgary. He was special teams coach. Trey Junkin played. Yeah, I think it was 17 years in the NFL as the Arizona Cardinals long snapper. Was one of the greatest. I played against him when I was in Dallas. He retired a couple of years, and the New York Giants brought him out of retirement for the playoffs against the San Francisco 49ers. I don't know if you guys remember that snap against the 49ers that sent the 49ers, I believe it was to the NFC Championship game. Where Trey
only
Junkin,
because he was my coach, and that's the only thing I know him for. I didn't know anything about his career before then.
Knew nothing about him until his one bad snap in a 19-year career after he had retired. And he lives with that as his legacy and not the 20 or 19 years of great snaps. And every time, Sheldon, I think, oh, if the Stamps call me or the Bombers call me or someone call me, will I go back? There's always that little Trey Junkin moment in my head where I'm like, I know I could do it, but what if I'm in the Grey Cup and I throw a Trey Junkin back there? What will people remember
I think
me
what you
for?
learned from there is the same thing that you learned from the I believe it was the Jaguars locker room, or maybe it was Cincinnati. What did your coach say? Guys, I think that was a good one to end it on, and I think you don't look back. And I don't want to rush us off. If anybody's got any closing words here, but we're pushing up on 3 half-hour segments. I think we did good. I don't know how many people lasted the marathon with us, but I enjoyed this one.
Roll call. No, it was good. It was good. I love it. Trey, thanks for jumping in. That was a great topic to throw in there. Fun to talk about. Sheldon, I enjoyed talking to Jays with you and kind of,
Yeah, I was not excited about it, but it's like Olympic curling. Once it's on, dude, I'm all in.
Yeah. No,
maybe one of the harder sports, curling. Those guys are, what do you think? Those guys are smart. It's like nice.
Nobody's ever once said smart like curler, Trey. I'm sorry. Guys, hey, thanks again for joining us. Those of you guys that made it right till the end. That was a fun one. I enjoyed it. Trey, great job tonight. Thanks for jumping in when you could, because and I think you earned a few new fans in the first segment. There's Angry Trey. We got to see more of that from you.
Hopefully, yeah.
But guys, we appreciate you all. We love you all, and we look forward to seeing all of you guys next week back here right on the ride.
Same old dial, same old end of the work week drink. Bartender knows my name, but I don't mind. She kicks them up strong, serves me up right.